Yo, what's poppin'? Welcome back to the channel. And we are back with a top 5 operator video. This one's gonna be on the attackers. We'll do the defenders after. We usually do these back to back, and we're gonna be doing it back to back again. So as per usual, these are in no specific order. It's just the top 5, 1 versus 5. You could determine which one's 1 versus 5. And maybe your favorite operator is not even on here. Let me know what your top 5 list is, because at the end of the day, this is subjective, but we're gonna get into my top 5 list for this season and beyond. This should probably remain true for the next few seasons, depending on how good of operators they put in and what kind of nerfs and buffs they put in the game, but it should stay relatively the same here. So first on my list, once again, in no particular order, this one is going to be the obvious ace. He has to be on this list in one way or the other. The AK-12 is just too good to not put him on this list. And the reason we put the AK-12 on this list with ace instead of like fuse or something is because ace has a lot of utility. You got that hard breach gadget. While it has been changed and tinkered over the past few seasons, it probably will continue to, ace still remains in that same conversation as Thermite, Habana, Thatcher, all those people that are so useful to be able to get that hard breach, because as long as siege exists, we know that hard breaching is going to be one of the most important things. The only thing that we don't like ace on 100% on is hatches. We would probably have to say Thermite and Habana is better for that, but other than that, ace definitely the easiest to use if you're just a first time player. There's less skill involved. You just chuck your ace at the wall and just let it do its thing, and then you get to play as a slayer the rest of the game because you have that AK-12 decent speed. So yeah, ace is a no-brainer. Another thing with ace is also the AK-12. You don't have to use the Russian scopes like fuse. You have to use the Russian sights. Some people like them. I personally hate them, and I prefer the normal scopes a lot more. So that was the first operator here on our top 5 list. You're going to see a recurring theme here. We're going to have a lot of usability. There's not a lot of just like, Ash will not be making this list, unfortunately. I'm trying to include mostly the operators that are going to help you win while also slaying out. Those are the operators that I like the most. And one of those operators, and this one's the most slay out, change the map kind of operator that we've seen in a while. And it is the newest operator from this past season, which is Osa. We've definitely seen a reoccurring theme throughout this season, or that throughout this whole year, this past year, is they're kind of out of operator ideas in a sense that they just keep kind of using their old ideas and just making them better. Like we saw that with Thunderbird being a better version of Doc, some might say. And in this situation, we have the attacking version of Mira. I'm sure all of you know by now, but she has the Talon 8, which is essentially it's like a deployable shield, but she could either carry it or set it down, and she's on attack, and it's see-through. It's like a mirror glass. So it could be deployed on floors, window frames, anything of that nature, or she could just be carrying it around. But this allows you to do so many things. Intel gathering, place it at the doorway of the site, just chill there. You get all the intel, call outs and everything. It could be completely great for area denial, being able to block off another team's way in because they're not going to come in if they see that mirrored shield there. And then the thing we really like about it, they didn't just give her a good gadget, they gave her the best weapons they possibly could have. They gave her a 5.56, which is a great weapon. That's the weapon that Thermite has. And they also gave the PDW if you want that fire rate, like how Mira is. So you could play it more in a Mira way with the pre-fires and stuff. And then you get a choice of a Claymore or a Smoke. So the loadout is there, the gadget's there. So I figured that we might as well throw her in this top 5 list because it is a fun new operator. It's an operator that you could play, feel a little bit more fresh in this game. This game's old. It's not feeling very fresh. Everyone knows that. There's not been a lot of new content, like new maps or anything. Content has really fallen off for myself and a lot of other creators I've seen because it's just hard to make content on stale, never changing content. So if we saw more operators that were crazy like this, new maps that were crazy, maybe new game features that were crazy, this game would really make a full comeback. And I hope that we see that, but we're going to move on to the third operator in this video. And we're going to stick on the theme of the 5.56. We're going to bring up Thermite. So I put Ace and Thermite in here. They both serve very different roles because Thermite is the main hard breacher. It's never going to change. They want the game to be like that. Thermite's going to be the main guy. He breaks open largest breach in the game. And he is, for the most part, almost a must play on pretty much 80, I would say 80% of all sites. When there's a site that has a breachable wall that kind of changes how the map's laid out, if you get that wall, you almost always need a Thermite in that situation. You always need to be able to blast that open. So it's one of those easy operators operators with very easy gun to control that you could just main, learn your role, be a very good support player, and it would be easy, easy, easy. The only difference between Ace and Thermite is they play a similar role, but with Ace, you have a little bit more flexibility. You're allowed to go roam out a little bit more. You don't have to just stay by your Thatcher, and you're definitely expected to be the diffuser carrier whenever you're like a Thermite. With Ace, not so much. So Thermite, it's an obvious one to put on the list because it's so useful in pretty much any situation. But that's going to segue us into something that we need for Ace and Thermite. We need Thatcher. We need Thatcher no matter what. Thatcher took a very big hit with how they changed the EMP, but it also kind of helped with the Thermite because you can't really bandit trick as easily anymore. But there's definitely no surprise in why Thatcher is one of the most top picked operators. I think his pick rate's over 50%. That's up there with a few operators like Ace, Sledge, Yana, all those really good operators. They all have these very high pick rates. Thatcher has always been that way because he is probably the best support player on the team. We're not going to go into too much justification with Thatcher, but we are going to move into the last operator. So this is number 5. So the problem here is we had like Sledge, we have Yana, but I didn't put them on the list. And this is where it definitely becomes personal preference because any of these last three could have been the number 5 easily. Sledge is great. Yana is now great, but Zofia is the operator that I picked instead. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, like Zofia has remained the same. Like with Sledge, the SMG-11 obviously has definitely changed. Yana, they changed what type of sights she has. But with Zofia, she's always remained a little stable. They've always messed around with Ash because she's been super imbalanced. But Zofia is always just good. It's always a good entry fragger. So if you're an entry fragger, Zofia, it has to be the best. Now, her versus Ash, that's always the conversation whenever I do any of these. I don't really consider it much of a competition. The only thing you gain with Ash is speed, but with Zofia, you have 2 speed, 2 armor, so you have better armor, you have better health. I would say the weapon is better, in my opinion. You have the better sight options, and then the gadget to me is just obvious. Like the gadget's not even close. I think that Zofia's gadget's so much better than Ash's. Now, as for the other operators, if we're going to talk about them as well, they had a high pick rate, and that is just obvious. They're all over 50%. When I was talking about Sledge, Yana, Zofia, all those people, all over 50%, but they are consistently getting nerfed or tinkered with, and that's just not very stable to me. Zofia has been in my top 5 list, I think, for the past year and a half on every single video. I might be wrong, but I think I've had her on every single video, at least mentioned once. But with that out of the way, the honorable mentions, it has to be Sledge, it has to be Yana. And I'll even throw in Jackal into that conversation because I think Jackal is still one of the more OP operators in the game, but that is at the bottom end of the notable entries there. So that is all our top 5: Ace, Osa, Thatcher, Thermite, and Zofia. And then the honorable mentions, of course. There's so many good operators that you could play. You might have any combination of those 5 or even some of the notable entries as well. But later this week, you guys will see the top 5 defenders. And that is all the videos I have planned so far for Rainbow Six until the next season. I'm really excited for Battlefield. I'm going to try to get some videos out on that once that game comes out. But give me some ideas on Rainbow Six content that's new, that's not just repetitive. And I appreciate you guys for staying tuned into this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.